ethnicity. When we're talking about citizenship, we're talking about the fact that we were born and naturalized in the United States, and we should have the protection of the Constitution. And a lot of times we get very schizophrenic about that. And we need to discover who we are and also establish our culture. All the other ethnic groups in this country know the difference between nationality and citizenship. They are of Greek origin or Japanese origin or Romanian origin or Arab origin. But we, because of slavery, are unable to identify with a strong ethnicity. The other point I think is important too is that we need to start developing plans for self-development, plans of self-determination. We need to really move away from so much protesting about what white people have done to us, what they're continuing to do. That's not going to change anytime soon. We need to start developing internally, developing economic institutions in our society, developing schools in our society, developing cultural habits in our society so that we can build ourselves up culturally, then we can develop economically. And I think that's the key point that those of us in the vineyard of Africana studies recognize, that it's not, we shouldn't spend a lot of time talking about racism. The sociologists have written all of that. Our time needs to be focused on how can we put our extended families back together, bring the African father back home. How can we develop our culture so that we can have some values of our own that make us separate, unique, and distinct from other people? And how can we develop our community so we can get the violence and the drugs out of our community? That's where we need to focus our energy rather than whine and complain about white people.
You know, Doctor, I think quite recently, during the Christmas holiday and period, there was a movement, a cultural movement among African Americans called the Kwanzaa movement. And I think you've already indicated that culture plays a very, very significant role in the American experience, in the national experience of any group. And let's have you to talk about Kwanzaa and tell our audience exactly what is the Kwanzaa cultural movement and what does it signify and all of those things that you believe to be significant in terms of dealing with that movement.
Kwanzaa was created in 1966 at a time when many of our people were cultural nationalists, and we were also advocates of black power. And it was created by Dr. Maulana Karenga, who looked at the African continent as a whole and observed that we were an agrarian people, and on a seasonal basis we would have festivals, festivals based on the harvest of crops, whether it was the yam or the corn crop. And once we harvest that first crop, we would get together and celebrate, and it would be a period of ingathering, a period of thanking God, and a period of thanksgiving. And so from this period of celebrating the harvest festival came the principle and the idea of Kwanzaa. Karenga decided that, rightfully so, there were those of us in the 60s who disagreed with him. His position in the 1960s that the most important thing for us to come to grips with was culture. Some people felt that we should focus on civil rights. Other people felt that we should focus on politics. We had different organizations, but he was among those who felt that culture was the most important thing to focus on. So he created a holiday that was based on family, culture, and community. And out of that, he had developed an ideology called the Kawaida, which embraced certain traditional African values. Among them would be Umoja, unity; Kujichagulia, self-determination; Ujima, collective work and responsibility; Ujamaa, cooperative economics; Nia, purpose; Kaumba, creativity; and Imani, faith. And each of the 7 days of Kwanzaa between December 26th and January 1st are designed to focus on one of those principles. The first day we focus on unity, the second day on Kujichagulia, and the 7th day we focus on Imani, which is faith, and that will be January 1st. Now it's very interesting that, and we shared this event together, that on that last day of Kwanzaa, January the 1st, is also the celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation. For those of us who are in this part of the country. Now, our brothers and sisters out in Texas celebrate Juneteenth because they didn't get the word till way in June. We got it early, you see, but we also celebrate that. And I think it's a very powerful thing that those two celebrations came together in the last day of Kwanzaa. Liberation in terms of Emancipation Proclamation and faith with regards to the Kwanzaa program. Kwanzaa is growing and it's getting stronger. At this point, we estimate that more than 20 million people of African descent celebrate Kwanzaa. Not only in this country, but in foreign countries as well, because when Kwanzaa was in its infancy, a lot of African students were here at various universities. They learned about Kwanzaa, so they took it back to Nairobi, Kenya, took it back to Lagos, Nigeria. Some they celebrated in Jamaica and Trinidad and Brazil. So now it's an international holiday for people of African descent around the world.
The founder, as a matter of fact, the founder